Failing to rescue a group of Vietnamese boat people his Navy transport came across in the South China Sea. After he refused to take them aboard, they became so short of food that they resorted to cannibalism. Balian says the Navy is using him as a scapegoat.
I'm being blamed for it. And even worse than that is how the Navy hangs you out to dry when you get in trouble. Al Balian? Who's that? Never heard of him.
How rich are you?
Now, I'm going to be honest with you.
Give or take $100 million.
Now, we got. See, you're making me squirm. Are you saying to me in cash or in paper? In paper, I'm over $1 billion, way over.
That belongs to Merv Griffin?
Well, yeah.
And in mere cash?
Oh, I suppose a couple of $100 million.
Got a good arm.
Her mother got custody, her father visitation. And 2 years after that, Chrissy's mother accused Chrissy's father, Tim Foxworth, of sexually abusing Chrissy during his visits with her.
Did you abuse?
No, sir, I did not molest or abuse Chrissy. I love her very much, and she loves me.
All this has been done to her, and I'll go to jail because I won't send her back to that type of life.
I'm Mike Wallace.
I'm Morley Safer.
I'm Harry Reasoner.
I'm Ed Bradley.
I'm Diane Sawyer. Those stories and Andy Rooney tonight on 60 Minutes. Late last May, 110 Vietnamese set out in a small boat, hoping to gain their freedom. Before it was over, they would spend 37 days at sea. Only 52 of the 110 would survive. In the middle of their desperate voyage, the refugees crossed paths with a U.S. Navy ship on its way to the Persian Gulf. What happened during that 2-hour encounter would alter forever the lives of those involved. On the small boat, the Vietnamese, starving with nothing to drink, who would eventually resort to cannibalism. On the Navy ship, a captain who had earned a Silver Star and Purple Heart in Vietnam, a 25-year veteran who would end up facing a court-martial, Captain Alex Balian.
I feel bad that people were lost. And I'm really, you know, it hurts that this occurred. But it hurts worse that I'm being blamed for it. And even worse than that is how the Navy hangs you out to dry when you get in trouble. Al Balian? Who's that? Never heard of him.
Those 110 refugees had never heard of Alex Balian either when they left Vietnam with their dreams of freedom. This footage was taken by sailors on board Captain Balian's ship and obtained by us from his defense lawyers. Today, the refugees who survived are living in a UN refugee camp in the Philippines. They told us that when they boarded their boat, they were expecting a 7-day journey to Malaysia. But on the 3rd day, the engine failed. They rigged a crude sail using canvas from the boat, and the winds carried them eastward. But 5 days later, most of the food and water were gone. Vo Thi Bac Yen was making her 5th escape attempt, trying to join her husband and 2 children in California. Her story mirrors those told by the murals on the walls of the camp. She was traveling with her young daughter. Tell me about the 15th day.
My daughter died.
She died of thirst. How old was she?
4 years old.
The refugee boat drifted on, with people dying daily, and those alive so thirsty they drank seawater and their own urine. And in addition to the terror of starvation, there was another terror. A former South Vietnamese soldier named Minh took control of the junk, seizing the remaining food and rainwater and beating the other refugees. Lieutenant Colonel Trinh Thanh Xuan once fought alongside the Americans in South Vietnam and spent 13 brutal years in communist re-education camps after the war. He said 50 big ships saw the junk and passed them by, even though some of the refugees tried to swim to the ships for help.
About 23 people drowned.
About 23 drowned trying to swim to these ships, which never stopped.
Yeah.
But on the morning of their 17th day at sea, hope appeared in the form of the USS Dubuque, an amphibious transport. Navy ships are instructed to pick up boat people if the refugee boat isn't seaworthy, and Balian had rescued refugees in distress twice before. But Balian, speaking publicly for the first time, says this refugee boat looked different. He says he didn't know then about the tyranny of the soldier Min, but he felt it was too dangerous for his men to go on board.
They were in a chaotic situation. There was a lot of frantic movement on the junk at the time. I never saw that before. And they were jumping in the water.
That's unusual.
Yes.
Means they're desperate.
Means
right?
they're desperate, but I had not seen that before.
The captain said that your boat was very unruly. That there was a lot of disturbance on the boat.
The only thing is that we stood up out of our seats and waved to the Dubuque. But that's all.
But that's not what Balian thinks, and so he makes his first key decision. He decides to alter his usual procedure and orders his executive officer, here riding out on the small inspection boat, not to board the refugee craft, but instead to conduct the investigation through a Vietnamese sailor from the Dubuque who accompanied him in the inspection boat. They were decisions that would change many lives. When you look back, this wasn't just one mistake.
It's a tragedy of errors.
Before it was over, Balian would be charged with 4 counts of violating Navy regulations and dereliction of duty for failing adequately to assist the refugees and leaving an unseaworthy boat 280 miles from land. He was also relieved of his command. Hard to look at these ships and not think about yours?
It really is. I belong at sea. That's my life.
Among the specific charges against Balian is that he failed to render assistance to 3 Vietnamese who swam to the ship. The refugees were thrown life rings, but the Navy says Balian ordered his men to shake the swimmers off as they clung to the lines hanging from the ship. What happens when the swimmers grab a hold of the rope?
I gave the order not to let them aboard.
So you gave the order to pull the ropes in, even though there were swimmers holding on to them?
Well, after we got them to let go of them, we pulled in the lines.
Did it cause you a moment's concern? Just the visual image of these people holding onto those ropes and the ropes being pulled away from them?
No, because they understood that we weren't going to let them come aboard that way. We didn't just shake them off. Nobody shook anybody off.
Why not let the 3 who were there
let
get
the
on
3
board?
aboard and then say, now your vessel is seaworthy, we're going to take you back to your junk to proceed?
That would have been worse?
I think that would indicate false hope and improper action. They were not in any trouble at all. They were not in a life-threatening situation. They had life rings. They were being watched by my officers and my crew right there on the boat station.
But in fact, there was one refugee who drowned near the junk. And the Navy charge says a lookout on the Dubuque reported it and implies Balian might have saved him. But Balian says another one of those tragic errors occurred. The lookout's report never got to him. And even so, he says, the man was too far away to have been saved. Nguyen Van Sang was swimming within sight of the drowning refugee.
The Dubuque couldn't save that man because it was too far away from him.
Meanwhile, the Vietnamese translator aboard the inspection boat was compounding the errors by scrambling fact after fact. He reported that the junk had been at sea only 7 days, not 17. When a man died of starvation and was thrown overboard, it was mistakenly concluded that he had tried to swim and drowned. And perhaps most important, the translator misunderstood when the Vietnamese meant to say their engine was broken. He thought they were saying they had no engine at all. And since no one from the small inspection boat had boarded the junk, they never saw an engine. So Balian, back aboard the Dubuque, concluded that the sail must have worked to carry the boat this far. Should your executive officer have seen that it was a makeshift sail?
Perhaps.
It seems it would be apparent to anybody who knows boats, who knows the sea,
In Vietnam, even during the war, one would see many things like that.
Yeah, but we're talking about a boat that has to go another 200 miles.
Yes.
And a sail that has to get them there.
Well, now, if the boat went for 7 days, 280 miles, and you calculate the speed that it's going at, and it went under sail, why would it not be able to sail on and continue?
Was it a sail that you could steer the boat by?
They couldn't pilot the boat with that sail. The wind blows them anywhere.
So even though the sail could be hoisted, you couldn't steer the boat?
We couldn't steer the boat with that sail.
But Balian decided the junk was seaworthy and could sail on. Navy rules don't require refugees to be picked up if, in the captain's judgment, their craft is sound and navigable. And Balian says he's the kind of man who goes strictly by the book. He keeps coming back again to what people would say. Why take a chance with them? Whatever the information you had, whatever the regulations, why take a chance that they might not make it? Why not just put them on board and take that half a day and deliver them? Whatever the regulations say.
I don't work that way as a naval officer. I have to follow my instructions and my guidance. What I want to do isn't always what I can do.
Balian gave the refugees food and water, enough for the 7 days he calculated they needed to sail to land. He also gave them charts and maps which showed them the way to the Philippines.
They say that if it wasn't for what we did, they would have all been dead.
And yet the Navy says if you'd taken them on board, a lot more would have been alive.
In hindsight, that's correct. In hindsight.
But Balian says what he didn't know then was that the Vietnamese interpreter was making a final, fatal error. In an effort to reassure the Vietnamese refugees, the interpreter told them that another boat would pick them up in a couple of days, a promise that was not true. Then the Dubuque steamed away. In fact, it would be another 2.5 weeks before Nguyen Van Sang and the junk's 51 other survivors were rescued by Filipino fishermen. After the Dubuque left, and because of the promise that they would be picked up in a couple of days, the refugees stayed in place and ate up all the food. Within days, the food was gone, and the terror began again. A 10-year-old boy who had seen his father and mother die of starvation saw his 12-year-old brother fall overboard. The brother was thrown a life ring, but there was no rope attached to it, and the 10-year-old boy watched the waves carry his brother away.
They cried out each other's names. The boys shouted each other's names. They called to each other, but no one could save him.
Din Tuong Hai said that on the junk's 31st day at sea, the soldiers who controlled the boat, led by Min, came looking for someone near death to kill for food. It was decided that someone was to be Hai's friend, Quang.
Quang knew what will happen, and he came to talk to me. What will happen if they come for me tomorrow and I'm still alive, he asked.
But you couldn't save him.
I was too weak then. I couldn't do anything.
Quang was taken to the back of the boat and drowned, with the flesh to be distributed to the people aboard the junk. What did they do then with the bodies?
They used a knife to cut it in pieces, and then they boiled it in seawater. All of us were starving, so we had to eat something to save our lives. If we didn't eat human flesh, we would die.
So you're saying all 52 people ate?
All of the 52 people who were still alive ate the meat.
In the next few days, 3 more would be killed. One, a 15-year-old girl. Another, Hai's 11-year-old cousin.
Min and his friends came to take my cousin away, and he shouted, "Hai, save me." But I was too weak. And then Min told me, "I will be next."
But rescue came the next day. Hai was saved. Still, the survivors live with the horror of what they had to do to stay alive. That was hell.
I don't want to be reminded anymore about that trip.
Everyone involved has a burden to live with, including the captain of the Dubuque, who says the Navy, which provided these pictures of other American ships rescuing Vietnamese boat people, the Navy was just embarrassed, and he's being set up to take the blame. And you think you're just being made a scapegoat for a regulation that was inadequate?
Yes, most emphatically. Without reservation.
Balian charges that in its zeal to press the case, the Navy appointed a prior captain of the Dubuque to head the investigation, a man who had been the target of criticism by Balian.
Some of the things I discovered in my command after taking command might have been embarrassing to not only him, but some of my seniors.
And you'd reported it?
Those conditions? Absolutely.
Is this unusual to put a man in charge of an investigation when he was in fact the person
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The Navy has refused to speak with us. Balian says he turned down the less severe judicial procedure, an administrative hearing, and asked the Navy for a court-martial so he could try to clear his name. But a long career to end this way.
It's not ending. I'm not going to let it end. Maybe somebody else will, but I'm not going to let it end. It's not going to let it happen. I'm too much of a pro. I care about what I do.
And the captain knows that he has at least some people on his side. The refugees, the survivors, sent a letter to the American ambassador in the Philippines, asking that the captain not be punished because of them.
Dear sir, despite of any dangers ahead and the slim chance of survival, we risk our lives for desiring freedom. We could never forget all what the U.S. government and its people have sacrificed for the liberty of our country and the humanity to our boat people presently. It is unlikely, unbearable for us to have one American suffering from our own actions. Therefore, we all hope the U.S. government take our proposal to consideration of restoring Mr. Balian to his former position to continue his service for the freedom of the world. Sincerely, people of Group 52 Balian. Sorry.
Since the incident, the Navy has issued new instructions making it almost certain that boat people will be picked up. The man responsible for the murders aboard the junk is in protective custody, awaiting possible prosecution. Most of the other survivors are still in the Philippines, awaiting resettlement. And Captain Balian, his court-martial is scheduled to begin this week.
Merv Griffin has been making money by the bagful for over 40 years. In his long career in show business, this 63-year-old has been a highly paid performer and a hugely successful producer. Show business has been a bonanza for him. But last spring, he converted that bonanza into really big business. A $300 million hostile bid to take over Resorts International, the hotel and casino company. And the man he fought for control of Resorts was no piker himself, none other than Donald Trump. Before we get through, you'll meet him too. But where did Merv Griffin get the business savvy and the money to become a corporate raider? It all began when he created and later sold his two big game shows, Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. That deal made him a very wealthy man. How rich are you?
Well, you know, I'm sure certain business people that you asked that have those figures right in front of them. Now, I'm going to be honest with you.
Give or take $100 million.
Now, we got. See, you're making me squirm. Are you saying to me in cash or in paper? In paper, I'm over $1 billion, way over. In
That belongs to Merv Griffin?
Well, yeah.
And in mere cash?
Oh, I suppose a couple of $100 million.
And where did he get all that cash?
Well, besides owning the two highest-rated and most profitable shows in television syndication, Merv Griffin has bought and sold radio stations. He's acquired closed-circuit television systems and prime California real estate. As we said, he worked his way up the show business ladder, starting as a radio singer in San Francisco, then touring with a big band, working as an actor, a TV and talk show host, and a game show producer. And along the way, he negotiated lucrative contracts for himself. He bought his own theater, started his own production company, and bought lots of Hollywood real estate. And then in 1986, Griffin saw a chance to sell it all. He sold this entire block in Hollywood. He sold his production company, Merv Griffin Enterprises, and his game shows to Coca-Cola, and he's proud of the price he got. $250 million?
Yeah.
Truly?
Truly.
Cash?
Yeah.
In 1987, he took some of that cash and bought the Beverly Hilton Hotel for $100 million. The start of his new Griftel hotel chain. This 30-year-old establishment in Beverly Hills needed some sprucing up, and Griffin is spending $30 million to refurbish it. Why is it that we knew nothing of Merv Griffin, the businessman, through all the years?
I had a very funny feeling about that. You know, for years, people hid what they had.
Don't let them know how much money you have.
No, keep it over here. It's not polite.
Under his deal with Coca-Cola, he still runs Merv Griffin Enterprises, and he gets a piece of the action. But you still run the company.
I still run the company, sure. You betcha. And
under salary?
Under salary.
How much?
Employment contract. Well, some...
You don't want to tell me?
No.
You have 30% of the take, though. 30% of the net.
35. You're trying to chop me down.
Merv Griffin Enterprises netted $140 million in profit in 1987, leaving Merv himself about $40 million richer.
I know people say, oh, he's cheap. He doesn't pay those great big salaries, and the guy's cheap.
Yes, that's what they say.
Oh, you heard it too?
That's the one thing they say.
It's not
he's
cheap.
Difficult, he's temperamental, he's tough. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But he pays small salaries.
Yeah. But gives great opportunities. We run a very lean and mean company. And that's why our profits and our product has been good.
After he sold his company to Coke, Griffin wanted to do more than just count his money. He and his good friend of long-standing, Ava Gabor, found themselves plainly bored.
And I said to Ava, this is not my life. And she said, it's not mine either. And we were starting to fight. Then we started traveling. We go to Rio, and we go here, and we go there. And I said, Ava, it's great, but I'm going to be a maniac. If I don't get going on something else, I got to put that money into it.
Now Donald Trump enters the picture. Last March, Griffin got a call from a New York takeover attorney named Morris Orange, who told him that if they moved fast, they might be able to seize control of Trump's Resorts International, the hotel and casino company. Was Griffin interested in taking on the deal maker of the decade? To Orange's surprise, Griffin said he was. Griffin is a novice in the field of money. Trump is a past master. So you'd think that there would be some sense of, hey, I'm up against a big guy here.
If there was a concern, it wasn't expressed. It was almost instantaneous. They called me and said, we think we want to go ahead. We want to do this deal. I was floored. I mean, I was just floored.
What persuades Merv Griffin that he can deal man to man, dollar to dollar, with a man like Donald Trump?
Because I saw his offer to take Resorts International private, and it wasn't right.
Griffin says that Trump was offering resort shareholders $22 a share for the stock he wanted to buy from them. Griffin upped that offer to them to $36 a share. That made Donald furious, and he filed suit against Merv for interfering with his deal. Griffin countersued. Morris Orange, who had done takeover deals with formidable deal makers like Carl Icahn and Boone Pickens, and who himself stands to make a lot of money on this deal, says he was impressed with Griffin's grasp of takeover tactics.
Merv he's got a steel trap mind, no doubt about it. He knows, he understands money, he understands business, and he understands the dynamics of deals.
But when the two men finally met for the first time last April in Trump's New York office, Griffin says he fell back on his skills as a talk show host to deal with Donald Trump.
Hi there.
Donald Trump, how shrewd, how tough, how formidable.
Well, he talked for 30 minutes without stopping, so I just sat and did the same thing I used to do to guests. Uh-huh. Oh.
What did he talk about?
Oh, his guns, you know. I mean, anti-aircraft guns that he was rattling lawyers at me, you know. Yeah. Because he had released a lot of adjectives prior to me getting there. It's very moot. It's foolish. It's fruitless. It's ridiculous, you know. And then we met.
For Merv Griffin to try to do business with Donald Trump.
So there was a lot of gun rattling. When he finished, I said, well, Dom, I mean, I have the same guns you have. Do you want a deal, or do you want me to go home to California? And he said, no, come on, we'll deal.
And so they dealt. Griffin had successfully outbid Donald Trump for control of Resorts International. But he says he had no interest in finishing construction of Resort's mammoth Taj Mahal Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, but Trump did. So Griffin sold the Taj back to Trump, and Griffin kept the older, smaller Resorts International Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, plus acres of undeveloped land there, as well as almost all of balmy Paradise Island down in the Bahamas. It had been a hard-fought deal on both sides, but in front of the cameras last June in Atlantic City, the lawsuits and haggling over the deal were forgotten for a friendly photo opportunity.
How are you? Do you realize this is bigger than Tyson and Spinks? This is bigger than Reagan and Gorbachev.
You know, Tyson and Spinks did.
Diplomacy aside, no actual money had yet changed hands in their deal, and neither man had anything bad to say about the other.
The fact is that the two of you, both of you, each of you look like the cat that swallowed the canary. Question is...
Well, where?
Which one is the canary?
That's only in your mind. I think we're both very happy.
Your perception has been way off on this whole situation.
Your pals.
They were anxious to put a happy face on what had been a protracted and bitter takeover fight. A fight that had begun months before when Griffin made that hostile move to take Resorts International away from Donald Trump. While both men now say they got what they wanted, you had to wonder if the man who wrote The Art of the Deal hadn't taken advantage of the former talk show host.
The fact is, people say this is a great old hotel, great old casino, an aging lady that you were happy to unload because it's going to cost this man a lot of money to put it back in shape.
I think it's a great old hotel. I agree with that.
And there's nothing like an aging lady.
But it's going to cost you a lot of money.
I don't know it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to cost between probably $0 and $100 million to fix it up and make it magnificent, depending on the kind of a job he wants to do.
Is that right, Merv?
Absolutely.
Griffin clearly enjoys his role as a budding tycoon. As soon as he negotiated his deal with Trump, he and his friend Ava Gabor flew down to the resort's properties in the Bahamas to Paradise Island to get his first look at what he had bought.
Do you see this tree? It's mine.
Along with a tree, he gets 4 hotels, a casino, 17 restaurants, and a private beach house, plus acres and acres of undeveloped land. He says he plans to spend millions on improvements both in the Bahamas and Atlantic City. But the cost of those renovations is small change compared to the $925 million that Griffin had to borrow to take Resorts International away from Donald Trump.
You know what he told me?
What?
In effect, I want to be careful about this, but in effect, he said he took you to the cleaners. I mean, that he got the better part of the deal.
I can't believe that, because he's been phoning me every 10 minutes saying, you know, don't say we took each other to the cleaners, and I'm going to keep it even. We both won, didn't we? He didn't take anybody to the cleaners. Trust me, I know.
Now, that was last June, and it would take another 5 full months of bickering to close the deal. But once the deal was done, once the money had changed hands last November, we talked to both men again in New York. There was talk in the financial community that Griffin had just paid too much for resorts. And Merv did seem a lot less carefree than when we had last spoken. As for Donald Trump, he was considerably more candid about the merits of his deal with Merv Griffin.
From a business standpoint, I don't know why he made the deal. I can't say he's a good businessman or he's not. He sold a company to Coca-Cola for a substantial amount of money, which, from what I understand, could have been sold for more. He paid me a tremendous amount of money for resorts. I don't know why he paid that price. I don't know why he paid as much as he did.
Well, he's just full of statements, isn't he?
Yeah.
He wants to be perceived as a winner. I say, well, who cares? Let him, you know, let him have that if he wants that. But I say we both won. He got what he wanted, I got what I wanted, and that's it.
Essentially what he has is an old casino in Atlantic City that needs tremendous amount of money and tremendous amount of work, and an old casino in Paradise Island.
Paradise Island. Paradise Island in the Bahamas, one of the most beautiful islands in the world, with great pieces of undeveloped property.
According to a Philadelphia Inquirer article, Merv, quote, each day Griffin's Resorts will spend about $109,000 more in interest on its debt than it will generate in cash. Trump says,
where does a man lose $109,000 a day? I hope he's got an answer.
I am prepared to take care of that debt. And then I will turn the company around.
Business Week did a story, Donald Teaches Merv the Art of the Deal. Business Week, absolutely, in my opinion, they probably got it right.
I don't think he'll have a sequel to this one. I think because he knows what I know in the negotiation of this whole deal, that he can't really come out and attack me for fear I might release all the information.
What kind of information?
You know, good stuff. I'm going to save some for my book, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
The book Merv is referring to is about his deal with Donald Trump, and he says he's going to call it The Art of the Steal.
That's the garage.
But back in California, where he's beginning to build himself a new $50 million house, he told me it's the action he loves, the competition, whether it's a takeover fight with Donald Trump or building the biggest house in Beverly Hills.
Does Trump know this exists?
I don't think so. But it's like the old days of the Battle of the Big Bands, right? Here's Donald Trump and his orchestra, now here's Merv Griffin and his orchestra. Who gets the hit record?
Will this band singer turned businessman be able to turn around Resorts International? Can Merv succeed in the brutally competitive hotel and casino business? One thing's apparent, he's going to have a good time trying.
Come see Bahama moon. It shine on my lagoon. Haven't finished it yet.
"60 Minutes, a CBS News weekly magazine, will continue.
A few months ago, we reported a story about an underground railroad that helps parents hide their children from adults, usually the child's father. That underground railroad came into being largely because of one dramatic case in Mississippi. A lot of people have been involved, but it's Chrissy's story.
Chrissy Foxworth is now 6 years old. She was born exactly a year to the day after her parents married. 2 years later, her parents divorced.
Oh, you got a good arm.
Her mother got custody, her father visitation. And 2 years after that, Chrissy's mother accused Chrissy's father, Tim Foxworth, of sexually abusing Chrissy during his visits with her.
I'm still branded by the different people that I am a sexual abuser, and I'm not.
Did you abuse?
No, sir, I did not molest or abuse Chrissy. I love her very much, and she loves me.
Tim's mother, Chrissy's grandmother, was a witness to most visits between Chrissy and her father.
You obviously don't think he was guilty.
I know he wasn't guilty.
But Jeanette Hathorne wasn't the only witness to those visits. Her then-husband, James Hathorne, was still living with her when the allegations first came up.
All the time, Chrissy would go to sleep in her bedroom, go to bed in her bedroom, and Tim would go in his. But on numerous occasions, when in the morning, Tim would be in the bed with Chrissy, and it was just a little single bed, you know, and he would be in the bed with her, or on a few occasions, she would be in the bed with him.
No investigator ever talked to James Hathorne, but a Mississippi prosecutor did talk to Chrissy and recommended bringing criminal charges against Tim Foxworth as early as 1986. This is part of a letter written from one prosecutor to another. I interviewed the child. She told me of the abuse committed on her by her father. Based upon the child's credibility and the strong medical evidence, I urge you to consider criminal prosecution in this matter. Tim Foxworth wasn't investigated, wasn't then, and has never been criminally charged in this case. 2 weeks later, Tim Foxworth asked a family court judge, Seedale Jr., to take custody away from Chrissy's mother and give custody of Chrissy to him, on the grounds that the lifestyle of the mother, which included 2 illegitimate children, did not provide a wholesome environment for Chrissy. Partway through the custody battle, Chrissy's mother, Dory Lynn Singley, was taped by a Mississippi station, WJTV.
You know, there's not a doubt in my mind that this child has been sexually molested. I personally have never seen such evidence, you know, on children that's been sexually molested. And it sickens me to know that all this has been done to her, and I'll go to jail because I won't send her back to that type of life.
Dory didn't go to jail, even though Judge Dale took custody of Chrissy away from Dory and gave it to Tim. But Dory was facing contempt charges for not turning the little girl over to her father. Part of the reason she felt so strongly was that the evidence of sexual abuse of Chrissy had been reinforced by a medical examination by an expert on sexual abuse at a New Orleans hospital. The doctor who examined Chrissy concluded that several of the genital findings could only be caused by molestation. That's the doctor's emphasis, not ours. The doctor based her findings on 4 tears to the hymen, including a worn deep groove where part of the hymen was missing. Tim Foxworth says he didn't find that report convincing.
She's been took to doctors on top of doctors that says there was no abuse. And,
You think Chrissy told the doctor that you had abused her?
I don't know if she did or not, but she's told us and told several people that she did say it to make her mama happy.
That report was presented to Judge Dale at the contempt hearing. He refused to consider it, and he refused to talk to us about it. Perhaps part of the reason that he wouldn't consider the report was because Dory didn't show up in court that day. Instead, Dory and Chrissy went into hiding in separate places to confuse anyone who would be looking for a mother and child together. Dory left her 2 other children with a relative. Then, the completely unforeseen happened. Dory was suddenly gone, dead at the age of 27.
Dory Lynn Singley died in October 1987. She'd been living in New Orleans, hiding, using a new name, when she got a fatal blood clot in the brain. Her daughter Chrissy was hiding separately with a family in Mississippi. They buried Dory back here on the Gulf Coast, in a lonesome cemetery in the Pine Woods. Chrissy, of course, could not come to the funeral. There's been no money for a headstone, but somebody brings flowers from time to time.
While Dory was still alive and hiding in New Orleans, and Chrissy was hiding in Mississippi, the primary link between them was a paralegal in the law office that was representing Dory, a paralegal named Gail Martin. With Chrissy motherless, Gail felt she was the only person with the will and ability to do what Dory would have wanted. She said she talked to Dory 10 days before Dory died.
She said, "I will never give up." She said, "I will never turn this child over to Tim." And she asked that I keep Chrissy safe and that I make sure that nothing happened to Chrissy.
Gail Martin says she didn't consider turning Chrissy over to the Mississippi authorities, but she says she still had not given up on the legal system entirely.
I still had hopes that the legal system was somehow or other going to understand and that we were going to get somewhere, some point, that they were going to listen to what had happened to this child.
So Martin took Chrissy across state lines to California. Under federal law, that's technically kidnapping.
Was there an underground that could counsel you on the mechanics of doing this kind of thing?
No. No, there was not. This decision I made completely unilaterally.
Why'd you pick California?
Because it was the one place that offered some hope to end this madness and that would offer Chrissy some protection. The main reason was Legal Services for Children.
Legal Services for Children is a San Francisco organization that only takes cases representing children. One of its founders, Sheila Brania, became Chrissy's lawyer.
Did Chrissy talk to you?
Yes.
Did she tell you about the abuse?
She told me that her father had hurt her. She told me about her mother taking her away. She told me about her mother dying. And I said to her, you know, I'm sure that your father must miss you a lot. Wouldn't you like to go back and see him or get in touch with him? And she became very agitated and said, absolutely not.
Sheila Brania presented the New Orleans medical report to a California judge. He found the report convincing and made Chrissy a ward of the state. But then Mississippi authorities convinced the California judge that the case belonged in Mississippi. So Chrissy was returned to Mississippi. The district attorney from here in Columbia brought Chrissy back to the jurisdiction of Judge Dale in this courthouse in December 1987. They acted, presumably, in agreement with the orders of the California judge to put Chrissy into a neutral setting, to prevent contact with paternal relatives, to arrange a complete investigation of the case, and not to permit her father even to see her until further order of the Mississippi court. Well, within about 24 hours of Chrissy's return, she'd seen her father and her paternal grandmother. She'd been seen by 2 doctors, the doctors who testified for Tim in the Summers hearings, and she'd been put in the temporary custody of her grandmother, Tim's mother. 2 weeks later, Judge Dale again ordered permanent custody to Tim Foxworth.
Chrissy is living at her father's house now, and her grandmother is there. We asked if we could come by and take pictures of Chrissy, and were surprised when Tim, his mother, and his lawyer suggested we also talk to her. Obviously confident, Chrissy would appear happy, adjusted, part of a clearly healthy environment.
Do you like living here?
Mm-hmm.
And who lives here with you most of the time?
My grandma and my daddy.
Your grandma and your daddy. Do you remember Gail?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like her?
Mm-mm.
But you went to, remember going to California with Gail?
Mm-hmm.
Was that fun?
Mm-mm.
You came back here
Mm-hmm.
to this house.
Mm-hmm.
And you like that better?
Mm-hmm.
You happy to be back with your daddy?
Mm-hmm.
According to Mississippi authorities, Chrissy has now recanted. She no longer says her father abused her.
I've loved the way this legal system has chosen, you know, finally when Chrissy says Daddy didn't do it, they believe her. All along during this whole period, they have not believed her when she has been saying that Daddy did it. But now that she's saying what they want to believe, they believe her.
Chrissy's return to Mississippi and to her father helped unite people all over the country who were already disillusioned with the court system. And the loose network, that is the new Underground Railroad, took shape. Dan Wise is one of the lawyers who represented Tim Foxworth. He thinks the Underground Railroad is a form of anarchy.
It's causing a turmoil in the system, and the system's not perfect, but it's the best we've got.
Pending a better system, Wise thinks the laws should be enforced. In the Foxworth case, he'd like to see everyone who disobeyed the court prosecuted for a serious offense.
I'm quite hopeful that everybody who was involved in removing the child from Mississippi will be charged with kidnapping.
Whether you view it as a kidnapping or a rescue mission, could it happen again? Chrissy's father thinks it could.
In fact, we didn't even get to put her in kindergarten because we were scared that, you know, that she might be taken again by somebody, by these people.
Do you feel you failed, Chrissy?
Oh, my God, yes. She's in more danger now than she's ever been in the whole time I've known her.
Do you regret you did anything?
I regret I trusted the legal system again. I most certainly do.
Do you think the Underground's the answer?
I think that it's a poor choice, isn't it? Whether we have to turn our children over to the abusers or whether we go into hiding and have, you know, I mean, what answer is that also? I mean, it might be that you do that and you have to do that because that's certainly better, knowing that a child who is returned to this abusive situation, the body might live, but the soul is killed.
Do you remember your mother?
Mm-hmm.
You miss her?
Mm-hmm.
Not long before she died, Dory wrote in her diary, "To my children, I love each of you dearly. I miss each of you desperately. The 3 of you are my life. All of you are my strength, my hope, my future, and most of all, my heart." Well, no one connected to the Chrissy Foxworth case has been prosecuted for any crimes. But Tim Foxworth has sued Gail Martin and others who helped hide Chrissy and Dory for $52 million. Chrissy is still living with her father in Mississippi.
A couple of weeks ago, Andy was in Washington and got the shock of his life. Well, let him tell you about it.
It's sort of a letdown with both the Super Bowl and the inauguration over, isn't it? I was in Washington during the inauguration. It was a great event. You feel a real pride of being an American, whether your guy won or not. Washington looks good. The White House, all the flags flying. The day before the inauguration, we were taking pictures of the Japanese embassy for a piece I was doing. Owned by the Japanese, of course. I got wondering what else the Japanese own in Washington. I know they own most of Hawaii, a lot of Los Angeles, and big parts of New York. I thought our nation's capital would be different. Well, I got the shock of my life. Through half a dozen different sources, we found out what the Japanese do own in Washington. Who, for example, do you think owns 100% of the building occupied 100% by that all-American group of doctors, the American Medical Association? Why, the Nippon Life Insurance Company of Tokyo, of course. Would you like to stay at a good hotel in Washington? The Westin is first class, owned by the Aoki Corporation of Japan. If you don't like the Westin, try the Embassy Suites Hotel. It's owned by Shua Investments, a Japanese corporation. The recently remodeled Willard Hotel has a very special place in American history. Abraham Lincoln stayed there, for instance. Now owned by the Japanese. The Sumitomo Realty and Development Corporation of Japan owned this big office building at 1750 K Street. The Japanese own dozens of big office buildings in Washington. Here, 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 here. You read U.S. News and World Report, a good Republican kind of publication with an all-American name. Here's the magazine, and its address is right here. 2400 N Street, owned 100% by the Japanese. This is a building called the Judiciary Center, occupied by the United States Department of Justice. It was recently bought by the Japanese for $90 million, and American taxpayers now pay $8.5 million in rent to their Japanese landlords. This is the Washington Monument, this is the Jefferson Memorial, and this is the Capitol, of course. The Japanese don't own any of those. Yet.
I'm Ed Bradley. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes.
Does Trump know this exists?
I don't think so. But it's like the old days of the Battle of the Big Bands, right? Here's Donald Trump and his orchestra, now here's Merv and his orchestra. Who gets the hit record?
See Bahama moon, it shine on my lagoon. I haven't finished it yet.
Later tonight, a national bestseller, a Pulitzer Prize-winning masterpiece, Lonesome Dove, a spectacular new miniseries starting 1 hour from now on CBS. But first, what do a missing heir, a greedy friend, and chain smoking have in common with Jessica? The answer next on Murder, She Wrote. For a printed transcript of this or any edition of 60 Minutes, send $3 to Transcripts, 267 Broadway, New York, New York, 10007.